One of the most challenging things that we as business owners go through is the evolution from working in the business to working on the business. And we've all heard that saying, right? Less in, more on. And that makes sense. But how do we actually implement that? How do we actually get off the roof? How do we actually take off that tool belt? How do we actually get out of the truck and get into the office so that we can lead our team and delegate and elevate to that next level? Well, my guest today is an owner who has done just that in just a few short years. He was literally driving the truck, and he made that conscious decision that first day that he was driving that truck that he needed to work on getting out of that truck and into the office so that he could build a team and build an amazing business. And that's exactly what he has done. So I'm excited to bring Les' story to you today to share some insights based on his experience on what he has done to build an incredible organization, an incredible leadership team, and they are really just getting started. So tune in, take some notes, pay attention. This is going to be a good one. All right, so Les, man, what's up? I'm super pumped to have you here.
Thank you, man. I'm super pumped to be here, Joe. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I know you haven't done a ton of these, but I think you have a really good background and story, and you're an awesome leader, both personally and professionally. So I think a lot of the audience is going to resonate with what you can share with us, some of the lessons, some of the experiences that you've been through. So I'm excited to dive into that stuff. So why don't you give us a little bit of a background as to, who you are, what Mountain High Mulch is all about, your background, all that sort of stuff.
Sure. Yeah. Well, anyway, that means a lot coming from you. Thanks a lot. I appreciate that. Obviously, my name is Les Brannen, and first and foremost, I'm a proud father of three. I have two girls and a boy, 19, 17, and 14, and married to my beautiful wife, Jennifer, of 21 years. Been one of the best successes of my life. So they are my world. They keep me going. They keep me grounded. As far as my background, I have had a 20-year corporate career with a restaurant chain. I wore starched shirts and starched pants and loafers to work every day. And one day my whole world changed, and I traded those nice starched pants and slacks in and shirts in for cowboy boots and blue jeans, and got into the mulch business. And I am one of three owners of Mountain High Mulch in Atlanta, Georgia.
All right, that's pretty cool, but we need to dig in there a little bit, because there's obviously more to that story. Why did one day your world change?
Well, so the restaurant I worked for had a really good culture. Taught me a lot about servant leadership, situational leadership, just a lot about people. One day our accountant became the CEO. We had a meeting. I was in an executive position. We had these executive meetings twice a year. They pulled us out to Texas where we would meet and basically said, hey, I'm taking over. The company's changing. You have two choices. You can go back and run one restaurant for us, which I had 14 restaurants at the time. I hadn't run one restaurant since I was 26 years old. Or you can get on a plane, leave Monday, come back Friday, and take over the Southeast. So at the time I had younger teenagers, and me getting on a plane Monday and coming back Friday just was not going to be an option for me. I knew I wanted to be present as a father. I had traveled in the past, but it wasn't that extreme. It was a couple of days every other week or so. So I knew I still needed a paycheck, and I sucked up my pride, and I went and ran one restaurant for 1 year. And the first Zoom call I got on, the new CEO had his feet up on the desk and said, hey, everything you've accomplished from the past 20 years, I don't care about. Everything starts today. So you got to prove yourself all over again. And that just didn't fare well with me. So at that point, I decided that either I was going to go find another job, or I was going to start a business. And I had come from a family of entrepreneurs and just took that easy road of the corporate world for 20 years. It's a good paycheck, good benefits, good vacations, and I was comfortable. So I decided I didn't want to go get another job. I wanted to start a business.
Wow, that's some pretty poor leadership from that CEO. Like, I don't care about what you've done the last 20 years, your dedication to this company, like that.
Yep.
Obviously it drives good people like you away. I'm guessing you're not the only one who left to pursue
Nope.
something else.
Half the
Wow.
company left. Yeah.
Wow, that's wild. So I'm sure you learned something from a leader, or that type of leadership. That's probably not what you want to do.
Absolutely.
So going from restaurants into mulch is obviously a natural transition, right?
Yeah.
Where'd that come from? Like, why mulch?
So 20 years prior, I had always been in the restaurant business. I love the hospitality industry. I like serving people. I like being in that environment. I like being social in those environments. So, but there was a stint for about a year and a half where I didn't work in a restaurant. And a buddy of mine, his father owned a mulch brokerage company, and he had asked his father, he said, "Hey, I want to open up a little retail yard outside of Atlanta." And he approached me and said, "Hey, what are you doing at the time?" And at the time I was just, drinking beer and working in restaurants. And he said, "You want to come drive a dump truck for me?" And I said, "Hey, heck yeah, Monday through Friday, no nights, no weekends." So I had a dog, and I remember my dog, his name was Blue. He and I would go drive a dump truck Monday through Friday at this little retail yard. And I'd pull up to these people's houses in with mulch or soil or rock or whatever. And they always asked us, "Hey, do you install mulch?" And my buddy said, "Don't tell them we install mulch. All we do is deliver." So after about 3 months of people asking me if we installed mulch, one day I said, "Yeah, we install mulch." And my buddy's like, "Man, what are you doing?" I was like, "These people want to pay us money to install mulch. So if you don't want to do it, I'm gonna do it." So I went and got 4 wheelbarrows, 4 shovels, 4 guys, and I started installing mulch. I was very honest with him. He's like, "If you want to do it, that's fine, but do it in your off time." So it became more than just off time, and we were installing mulch, 5 days a week with shovels and wheelbarrows. And so about 8 months in, I went to some trade show, a garden and home trade show, and someone was demoing one of these blower trucks that blew mulch and soil. It was a pneumatic process. And I saw that thing. I was like, man, that would change the direction of what I'm doing right now. If I didn't have to use wheelbarrows and shovels and I could blow the mulch in or blow the soil in, it would change everything we're doing. So I went to my dad and I said, "Hey, there's this concept out there. It's not proven, but it's pretty innovative on what we're doing. I want to get into one of these trucks." And he's like, "You're an idiot. Don't do that. That's, those things are going to break in a month, and that's just not a good business plan." So luckily he did not agree to give me a little loan to buy one of those trucks 22, 23 years ago, or I'd be upside down. Just know what I know now. So was ready to get married to my wife, and I took a job with this restaurant chain, and I stayed there 20 years. And so I basically just took a 20-year break. But that whole 20 years, I had restaurants all over the Southeast, and I would drive, and I would pass these little retail yards, these landscape retail supply yards, and I would pull in every time, and I would talk to the people. And I really loved that industry. I loved being outside. I loved the profit margin that was in it. I knew that there was a need for it. Everybody who has a home, or municipalities, they mulch or pine straw or use rock 1-2 times a year. So it was a recurring business that I followed for 20 years. Always wanted to do it, but was just too scared to take that leap because I was very comfortable in my corporate job. And like I said, I had a good paycheck, had good vacations, good benefits, and I just was fearful of taking that leap as an entrepreneur.
Wow. So this is like 20 something years ago. You're like looking at this idea of a blower truck, and that just didn't pan out.
It didn't, but I followed the market for 20 years, and I knew what was around me. I knew there was a market there if someone could do it right.
And you just didn't. So you're driving around for your restaurant job, driving to restaurants, and you like literally see a landscape supply yard and just pop in and just talk mulch for a little while and hang out.
Yeah. Well, now that I look back 20 years, I was getting my business plan together. Yeah. And I was looking at what these other guys were doing and what they weren't doing. And every one of them that I would go to, even the blower truck guys, I would see there's 3 companies in Atlanta. I would see their trucks, and their trucks were non-branded. They were dirty. Their crews, they just looked unprofessional. And these other landscape supply yards that I would travel to were just a mess. They didn't focus on first impressions. They didn't focus on branding. They didn't focus on marketing. And, I would talk to them, and they've been in business for 20, 30 years. And I'm like, well, if they're in business for 20, 30 years and they're not even trying, I think there's a market here where we can put a white collar spin on this blue collar industry and really make some of it. So we took the leap after basically I lost my job in the corporate industry, in the restaurant industry. And we knew that these trucks, these 37-foot trucks, were just huge billboards running down the road for us. So our branding was extremely important to us. So we came up with the brand, we came up with our logo, and we wanted it to look like an old 70s State Park patch or what have you. We thought that would fit in good with Mountain High Mulch. And our logo has become our name. I wanted a logo that if you saw our logo and it didn't say Mountain High Mulch, you would still know who we are. That make sense?
100%. Yes.
Okay.
I love that. And we used to design, like build a lot of websites for contractors. We did a few logos here and there. I always hated doing logos as an agency because it's so personal. And I always say like, it's almost easier to build a website than to do a logo because a logo is so personal.
Yeah.
But my former business partner, Tim, used to say that exactly that. Like you want a symbol of your company where if the wording is taken out, people still know what it is. Like that's awesome.
Yeah. You say in personal, you're exactly right. As a family, we would sit around the dinner table and I would have, 50 names that I thought were good for our company. And we would go pass the paper around. My one daughter I'd say, cross out the ones you don't like and keep your top 3. And basically we did that for 2 weeks until we found the right name. So it is a very personal name. It was very personal to us. And you know how important my family is to me. And they were a huge part of starting the company as well, because they had to go all in as teenagers from this, life of just being very comfortable to now, okay, we're starting a business. There's a lot that's about to happen in this business that we can't do because we just don't have steady income coming in anymore.
That's a real conversation that like we've all had, hopefully proactively, sometimes maybe reactively. But that's a real thing. I mean, I came from a family business that is over 100 years old and or still is, and, had a lot of security and benefits and all that sort of thing. And then going into the entrepreneurial journey of like, I kind of have a business plan, but as well as I do, like that doesn't mean anything until you go out there and actually test it out and get your teeth kicked in and you learn the real lessons, and you got a whole lot of figuring out to do. And, there are definitely sacrifices that the family has to make, both from a money perspective and then from a time perspective. Like you're grinding.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. A lot of people ask me what my wife, if my wife works in the business and, without her running things at the house, there's no way we could have done this the way we did, because obviously, starting a business, I had to go to truck driving school. I had to get my CDL because I was on the truck. I was the face of the company for a while. We didn't have any money. So me and another guy were on the truck every day, and we'd leave out at 4:30 in the morning and do work all day and come back and then have to do, send invoices and ARs and APs and, voicemails from that day. So sometimes it wouldn't be getting home till 9:30 at night. And she didn't question anything. She worked her ass off as hard as I did in the job at the house. So, she's a huge part of our success.
I love that. Very similar situation with my wife as well. I never wanted her to work in the business. She would be a tremendous asset. She's super organized, like gets shit done. But I just, I wanted to have a little bit of not necessarily separation, but I didn't want the business to be all consuming. We're at dinner and we're talking about a client or, whatever it might be. I wanted to have some semblance of some separation, I guess. But it's that support is huge.
Yeah, we've tried. She has a responsibility. She goes to the post office and bank, what have you, but there's a big running joke around our office that she's gotten fired 3 times because we just can't work together.
Yeah. Well, I
We're
hear
better
that.
husband and wife.
Yeah, exactly. I want to dive into a couple of things that you said, but first of all, you were going around for 20 years and kind of doing your market research. That makes me think of this local coffee company near me here in New Jersey called Rook Coffee. Probably started about 10 years ago now. The 2 founders, they left their jobs in New York City. They had this desire, this dream to start a coffee company, but they took a year off and they traveled around the country and throughout Central America to go to farmers and whatnot. They traveled around the country to do market research, to go to these little independent coffee shops and to see what worked, see what didn't, see what they liked. And they went to visit farmers and distributors. And they basically, they didn't make any income for an entire year, but they were getting their MBA in, so to speak, in how to start a coffee shop. And now, you don't go there without, they have an app where you order ahead of time on the app and you go pick it up. I never go there without ordering ahead of time, because you go there and you just, you're going to wait 20 minutes to get a cup of coffee, and it's, it's that good. So that's really cool that you did that. I love that.
Yeah. Cool.
And you have a couple of partners, right, in the business?
Yeah. So they worked at the restaurant with me for 17 years. So we already had that working established relationship. One of them was a general manager in one of my restaurants. The other one was a kitchen manager in the restaurant. And the Misael, he came with me day one, and we both this is stupid too, but I didn't pay myself for a year, and then he took a huge pay cut to come. And he and I were on the truck, built that business the first year. And then Eric, he's now our VP of operations. He just was beating down the door to come as well. And so he would come one day a week whenever he could, even that first year. And I remember all we could pay him was $100 a day. But he didn't care. He's like, look, because he was in that same situation with that culture change, and he just wanted out as well. So for these guys to believe in our company and believe in what we were doing is just a huge compliment. And I knew that we were going to probably have some struggles just because it wasn't the same environment, wasn't the same leadership that we were getting. Now we had to do it on our own. We were always very good leaders, but looking back, we probably weren't the best entrepreneurs the first 3 years. So we would grind too hard, and we would let those frustrations get in the way. But those 2 guys now are my partners. I'm majority stockholder in the company, and they both invested in the company and helped us get into a second and third truck. So they've got some skin in the game, and I would never want to do it without them.
Wow, that's cool. How do you guys, present day, and I know just from knowing you, you have seems like a really good dynamic in the leadership team. How do you guys communicate? How do you guys strategize? How do you get on the same page? How do you resolve conflicts? How do you maintain harmony with the 3 of you as owners?
Yeah, so we've had a pretty heck of a year this year, 2022. Obviously, I started working with Mike Claudio, and he's helped me navigate decisions that needed to be made. But before that, we were always pretty good friends and colleagues, but there was a lot of control with all of us. And that we would get in each other's lanes, and we would try to make decisions over each other. And, I'm surprised it didn't turn into some fistfights the first 3 years. So once we got our act together, I helped Eric get in his lane, and I helped Misael get in his lane, and that helped me get in my lane. So we communicate weekly I have a meeting with each one of those guys. And then every other week we have a ownership meeting together. So I get one-on-one time with each of them, and then we all 3 get time together. And then I try to plan a mid-year owners retreat for us. And this past 2 weeks ago, we went to the mountains, and we did a 5-hour expedition on class 4 and 5 rapids, got our ass kicked, and then had 2 days in a cabin where we strategized the past, we looked at the past 6 months versus what we're going to do the remainder of the year, and got our 2023 goals wrapped up. So when we hit the road running in January, we've got a good game plan for that.
Wow, that's cool. Was that the first time that you did a trip like that?
We did one a couple years ago, but we really had no agenda.
Yeah.
And we didn't get much accomplished.
Yeah.
This year we're much more organized, and we have started working on the business, not in the business so much. And that's been a game changer for us. We went to the Champions Parade last year in Charlotte with Mike and those guys, and we had a really good meeting the day after that event, and that kind of sparked our year. And so we decided to go ahead and do it twice a year, once in December and once in July every year.
Wow, fantastic. So I just want to pause to highlight a point for everyone, including myself, really. You're talking about July. You guys are sitting down in a cabin for a couple of days, and after having some fun and mapping out your goals for the next year, right? So like 6 months in advance. That's awesome. I think that's something that most people don't do. Probably something that people might do over New Year's Eve, that week off when, the holidays and all that sort of thing. Like, all right, well, let's look at the year and let's make some goals for this year, New Year's resolutions and all that. But, there's companies and leaders like you guys who are already, you have a huge head start because you're already, allocating resources and making plans, maybe hiring team members for like where you want to be next year. And that's awesome. That's what it takes, right?
Yeah. And it's taken us a while to figure that out. Don't think that we are the experts at it at all, but every day we're getting better at navigating how to plan better for the next 6 months. And like you said, even people we don't think we need to hire, we're putting those positions in. So for us, it creates a lot of freedom. It creates a lot of being disciplined in that approach has created a ton of freedom for us to now to do meetings like that, not be in the grind so much every day and try to climb out of that. We're getting ahead of those grinds so we can hopefully make healthier decisions for our team.
Yeah, I think that's something that most companies don't do. Like and I'm guilty of it as well, right? We put our heads down, we get to work, especially those of us who are, blue collar backgrounds. We love to work hard. And I know that's my default mode. If something needs to get done, I'm just going to put my head down and get it done.
Yeah.
And I think most of us are guilty of like not picking our heads up and saying, all right, well, where am I going here? What pieces do I need to put in place? Because, if we double our business or we add 20% to our business, like that's just going to be more work for me as the owner. And, I'm going to be grinding myself into a pulp, which is no good.
Yeah. Our business has doubled this year, and there's no way that we could handle that growth if we don't do this planning at all. I mean, period. And, who knows, we do forecasting and what have you for next year, but if we have anything similar to what we had this year and we wait until January, we won't be ready for it at all.
Right. So going back to a few minutes ago, you mentioned you were driving the truck, you had your CDL, you and Blue hanging out. And this is a very common position as an owner of a contracting company. How did you get out of the truck? Like you're in an office now. Like how'd you get out of the truck and into the office?
So the first day I was on the truck is the first day I'm working off the truck, honestly. I knew I had to grind, but I knew that just from the leadership I was in previous, that working in the business every day was not going to be what we needed. It took a lot longer. I was probably a little more naive than I thought about these trucks because these trucks will break down. And there's many times that I was on the side of the road trying to reconnect air hoses and hydraulic explodes all over me. And there's just levels of frustration I can't even go into that I didn't understand about these trucks. I thought you would crank them, turn them on, and they would blow. So the learning curve for 3 years, it was everything for us. And when Eric came on, Eric is a really, really good leader. And he's the kind of guy who will get in there and he will learn these trucks and learn how to turn a wrench and learn how to fix them. And that was how I got off. When Eric came on, he took over a lot of the responsibilities on the blower trucks, which I was fearful, again, some control stuff, to hire a driver to drive this really expensive truck because I thought I was the best at it. Well, that's BS. I'm not trained truck driver. I just had to do it to make money, put money on the plate, you know? So we hired a driver. I got off the truck, and that was the best decision that we've made, because if I hadn't gotten off that truck, and now Eric is off the truck as well. He was on the truck for 2.5 years. You know, that's still what's happening to these other blower truck companies around us, is those owner operators, they're not coming off the truck. So they're not growing, they're just stagnant. And I think that's part of the burnout. I mean, I got really burnt out over those first couple of years. So if I hadn't come off that truck and I was still on it now, I mean, we wouldn't grow, we wouldn't be organized, we wouldn't have the discipline we have, we wouldn't be able to offer the leadership to our employees, we wouldn't be able to offer opportunities to other people, because I was so greedy, I thought I had to be on the truck. So to answer your question, Eric was a big part of getting me off the truck, because he knew we could grow if we both came off the truck. So that was one of the best decisions we made, was to come out of that role.
Oh yeah, that's huge. It all starts with the decision, like a decision to consciously say, like, I need to get off this truck because we want to build something. And it starts there. And then once you make that decision and you're set on that, then, you know, the people show up, the opportunities show up, the knowledge shows up to help you achieve that. Like I'm a big believer in that. Yeah.
Once we did, that's when our company started really growing. Because we could go after sales, we could go after different markets, we could go after bids, we could rebrand our website, we could do things that needed to happen in order for us to grow. Being able to identify when you need to start working on your business, not in your business, I think is extremely important.
Absolutely. Yeah. One of the first business books, I think the first business book I ever read, man, almost 20 years ago, is The E-Myth Revisited by Michael E. Gerber. And he talks about that, the technician and the CEO, or technician business owner, and you have to get out of being the technician and become the owner.
Absolutely.
And we all know that, right? We've all heard, like, you got to work on the business, not in the business, but like it takes that conscious decision to say no, like, and maybe it's not now, you know, maybe it's not this month that you're getting out of the truck, like anyone listening or watching, but maybe it's January 1st. Maybe it's like March 1st. Maybe it's October 1st. Like by this date, I am no longer driving the truck. I'm no longer getting on a roof. I'm no longer swinging a hammer, like whatever that is for you. Or in my business, like we hired a couple sales guys 3 years ago, this month, actually. And I made that decision, like, hey, by this time that I am no longer going to be doing all the sales. I still do a little bit here and there, but I don't need to, right? So you need to make those decisions to plan ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree 100%.
So I want to pause for a second and just get into this blower truck, because one of my good buddies here in Jersey actually owns a landscape supply yard, two of them, and they have the big old, you know, dirty, loud trucks that go through the neighborhoods and drop mulch in your driveway. But I had never heard of a blower truck before I met you, and now seeing it on your Instagram, it's like it's pretty badass. And I imagine most people have not heard of it. So can you describe what that is and why it's so cool?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a truck that blows mulch and soil. It has an interface on the side of the truck. So the whole brains of the truck can be programmed to either blow mulch or blow soil. They're huge trucks, 37 feet long, 8 feet wide, 13 feet tall. And where we park the truck, we can blow mulch or soil up to 400 feet from where the truck is parked. So there's no more mulch being dumped in parking lots, mulch being dumped in your driveway to stain your driveway. We pull up, run the hoses wherever you want the mulch, blow it in. We can turn the flow of the mulch up and down with the remote that the guys wear on their belt. We can be very precise around seasonal flowers, seasonal plants, or we can turn it wide open if we're on playgrounds. We can install, each truck holds 60 cubic yards of mulch. So to compare that with shovels and wheelbarrows, if you were to install 60 yards of mulch with shovels and wheelbarrows on a playground, probably take you 8 hours if you have a good crew. Now with the truck, we can pull up, run the hoses out, we can install 60 yards in 1 hour, in and out. So the efficiency of this truck is just phenomenal. And there's not many of us out there. They make them in Oregon. They've been around for 30 years. And the investment's a big investment, but like I said, I feel like that people are responding to our brand and our image and us representing other towns and us doing subcontract work for other landscapers. When we pull up, they see our huge logo. We're very branded. Our guys are branded, and we just represent really well. And the truck it sells itself. Once they see our people out there, our people installing the mulch with this truck, it's game over.
That's awesome. And when you and I were talking a couple months ago about marketing, growing and whatnot, you were telling me You guys do like high rises and like rooftop gardens and things like that as well.
Yeah, so Atlanta is full of construction. It's growing all the time. So we have huge condos and high rises that will have pools built on the 6th floor with, gigantic planters the size of school buses all around this pool. And the only other way to get soil up there is with a crane and bags. And it's just a lot of labor and it's really expensive. So we can pull up to a job site, run our hoses 6 stories up, and actually blow soil on the top deck of a condo on a new construction. Pretty cool.
That's really cool. That's amazing. Wow. So how many of these bad boys do you have right now?
So we've got 3 right now. And that's part of our planning session in July to, see if we want to get another one next year, see what other equipment we need. Obviously the landscape supply yard is half of our business. So we have equipment there, a couple of dump trucks there, loaders. So we are determining if we want to open more retail landscape supply yards or purchase more blower trucks right now.
Okay.
So that's part of our strategizing mid-year.
All right. Yeah. And those are big investments. So I'm sure it's you don't wake up on a Tuesday like, I think I'll go buy a blower truck today. Something that you have to plan and budget for, huh?
Yeah. We're about halfway done with our SOPs, standard operating procedures. So we're really focused on locking every position in on that, getting that 100%, and then taking our company to a 8-figure company next year. We're really focused on what it will take to get to that level.
Wow, that's awesome. What drives you to keep going? I mean, it sounds like I know you have a really good business, cool brand and all that sort of thing, good team, solid leadership team. What motivates you to keep pushing and keep growing?
I mean, honestly, I love to serve others. I mean, really my personal purpose is I'm driven to serve. So me seeing the opportunities that we're creating for all these individuals around us. Guys that, we're pulling some guys in that may not have the best opportunity in life and helping them clean their life up and helping we see the impact it's having on their families. We have these Monday morning huddles at 6:30 every Monday with both of our companies, all of our employees. And I'll look around the room and I can count how many wives and children each of them have. And I can honestly say that we're creating opportunities for not only these families, but, they're able to provide dinners for them and school and buy them bikes and cars. So the opportunities that we're creating for all of our people, that's what continues to drive me. And I'm trying to get in more of a role where I'm helping all of their dreams come true. That sounds kind of silly, but me pouring back into those people what they've poured into our company is everything for me.
Dude, that's awesome, man. That's like you're creating generational like change in families like that might not have had those opportunities, and now their kids can see like their doors are opened up to so many more opportunities because what you have built.
Just mulch.
Just mulch, man. Selling dirt.
It can be a lot more than mulch, but yeah, we're I tell everybody that we're in the people business. We just happen to be selling mulch.
Yeah, that's so true. And I'm sure that's evolved a little bit since when you first started, where you had to drive a truck to put food on the table, and it was about, paying bills. 100%. And then you evolve and grow, and then it becomes more about other people. And then I'm sure, the money comes as a byproduct of that, right? Of doing the right thing. Absolutely. And serving people.
Once I stopped thinking about the financial outcome, my financial outcome, and started focusing on everybody around me, that's when everything exploded. I don't even know how to explain that. But I took myself off the plate. I took myself out of the focus. I didn't want to be greedy anymore. I didn't want to. I wanted to start serving others. And once I started doing that, everything came in line.
Wow, we're gonna have to clip that. That's a great little clip right there. It's so huge. And it seems like you're in a really good place, Les. I want to kind of start to wrap this up because I know that you've got a meeting to get to. Seems like you're in a really good place mentally right now. You are at a point where you're driving a truck. You've been through a lot of transition in the business and personally and whatnot. One of the things that I think we all struggle with as entrepreneurs is this feeling of like overwhelm and burnout. And just like, man, like, I know I need to do some of these things that Les is talking about, but you don't understand. Like, I'm already working 14 hours a day. I don't have the time. I don't have the energy. Like, I don't understand. I don't know how to do it. How can business owners, and you know, this could be an hour long answer, but if you can sum it up, like, how can business owners like prevent or overcome that feeling of overwhelm or burnout?
Don't do everything yourself. I mean, I would say, I think the biggest thing with me as a business owner starting the business was I felt like I had to do everything. I felt like I had to give the estimates, send the invoices, answer the phone, drive the truck, train the people, which I think there's something to grinding for a little while to own your business and to learn it and have that working respect for yourself of, hey, man, I know how to do everything here. This is my business. But at the same time, getting very intentional with what you want in life and what you want from your business. I didn't know what I wanted from my business for 3 years. Now I do. Joe, I mean, the first 3 years I opened a business out of necessity and I lost my job. So I did grind for 2 or 3 years there. And looking back, I would not say that grind wasn't necessary, but I think I could have navigated some of that grind a little smarter with being intentional on why I started a business and being more intentional with my daily tasks. What I did before 9 o'clock in the morning, what I did after, 8 o'clock at night, not drinking so much, right? I feel like you get burnout and you can use alcohol as a clutch at times. I would wake up and that would be, I wouldn't be able to make healthy decisions because I was drinking so much at night. So once I got intentional on what I wanted to do and why I started this business, that's when things started to change. And that's when I started serving others. That's when I started pouring into my people. I found a whole new level of purpose in life, not just coming to work, but coming to work honestly to serve others. And those struggles that I went through those first 3 years, I would say that you don't have to struggle that much if you don't want to. I think I wanted to for some reason, and I couldn't get out of that state of mind. And that's where, Mike helped me clarify some of those dark places that I needed to go to and get intentional on what I wanted in life. And once I got intentional on what I wanted in life and what my purpose was, then I started going after those wins. And it was small things like, this is silly, decluttering my basement, right? Or organizing my garage. And once I started saying, hey, I'm starting to win more on a small level, then that just started escalating into other things. And I started incorporating that into my business. And I let go of control and gave my leadership responsibilities and poured into them. And that's when things started to flow. So I don't know. I think that getting intentional with what you want in life is one of the biggest things that is challenging as a business owner. You have to ask yourself, why did you start a business and what do you want out of that business?
Right.
I couldn't answer that the first 3 years, but now I can.
That's awesome. I mean, that's amazing. And I share a lot of that. The first 3 years of my business, like, I thought I had to figure it out all on my own. I thought somehow that my marketing company was unique, that, there's no one else doing what I was doing. So I had to figure it all out on my own. And it wasn't until I got, my first business coach, I think 2015, and, got involved in some mentorship and realized, like, man, there's, you don't have to figure it out all on your own. And, and every coach or mentorship program, mastermind I've been in, that's the first step. It's like, all right, well, what do you want? Like, start with the end in mind. Like, what's your vision? And even to this day, it's a continual exercise. Usually what I do is, like, when I'm on a flight I'll try not to get the Wi-Fi and try not to grind. And I just like, chill. I don't really sleep on planes. So I'll just, do some journaling, like, what is it that I want? I'm really getting that literal and figurative 30,000 foot view on my life and business. And it's an ongoing thing for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And it can change. What you want can change. And I think that's okay. I think people get locked into, this is what I want. This is what I want to do. This is who I want to be. Well, what I thought I wanted back in January, I'm kind of a complete different person now, mentally, physically. So there's things that I need to pivot and to adjust mid-year to keep that reach out there for me. If not, I'll go back to the same place I was.
Yeah. My birthday was yesterday, and I was just reflecting on like, all right, well, like what does the next 3 years look like? Right. I don't need to wait till January 1st to figure out, my goals. It's like, well, in 3 years, like I'm going to be at a certain age, like where do I want to be? Like, what do I want this company to be? Do I want to be operating it? Do I want to own it? What do I want?
Yeah, I do know. Yep. Absolutely.
All right. It sounds like your train is here.
We have a train that tracks run by our office. It goes by.
Oh, nice.
All day, every day.
Well, I do know you have a meeting, but I just want to wrap up last by saying thank you. I don't know your family. I don't know your team members, but I do know that they are lucky to have you as their leader based on what you share with us today. So
thank you, man. I appreciate it.
I'm honored to call you a friend and to have you on our show and to share your story with our audience. And I think a lot of people are going to get some really good value out of this. So thanks so much for taking your time to share with us and open up and share the journey.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I'm really proud to run in the same circle with you as well. Thanks for having me on.
You got it, brother. I'll talk to you soon and I'll see you soon as well.
You bet. Take care, buddy.
All right. See ya.